I'm in a little bit of a pickle here. I met my husband when I was in my mid-20s, and he was in his early 30s. I told him right away that I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mother, and he wasn't super excited about the idea, but he agreed after we got married and were ready to have kids. This meant that he had to change his career path to a much more stressful and demanding job than he had before to make more money, and I've always been super thankful for this. My husband and I have 2 children now, a baby and a toddler, so as you can imagine, sometimes this gets hectic. I've been a little stressed and tired lately. Being a stay-at-home mom is quite a bit of work, and I told my husband I felt like I needed a little break. He gave me some cash and told me to plan a fun girls' day for my best friend and me. So today my friends and I went to get a mani-pedi and to brunch. When I got home, my husband was sitting playing Barbies with our kids, and he was really into it. It was really cute watching this 6'4" man sitting on the floor playing princess with the kids and being really invested in the part, so I took a few pictures. I know he's been working hard and is also really tired. I appreciated the fact that he wanted to give me a nice day, so I posted a picture of him on the floor with the kids, with the caption of, "World's best husband and father. Words cannot express my love and appreciation for this man." Well, my father saw the post and angrily reacted to it. My mom later told me my dad was hurt and stated that he tried to be a good dad, and the post made him feel like I was saying he wasn't a good father. So she told me to take down that Facebook post about my husband is a good dad because my father got offended. I told my mom I didn't want to change the post caption. My mother got really upset and told me I was going to give my dad a heart attack. I think I might be the idiot here because it is a little petty to refuse to change a caption for the sake of family harmony. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Are your parents always massive drama llamas? He's going to have a heart attack because you called your husband the world's best father? Slap a warning sticker on this man. After all, he is disturbingly fragile. The fact that your father found a way to make that post about himself is kind of odd. I wonder what will happen if you and your kids ever get your husband any world's #1 dad gift, e.g. coffee mug, shirt. Will they ask you to burn it? Not the idiot. I don't see how your dad's feelings about his fathering bear any relevance to your husband. You made an innocent post about how good of a dad your husband is. If anything, they should be happy that you have a good partner. If your dad read that and took it to mean that he isn't a good father, despite it not mentioning him at all, then maybe he should sit in a corner and think about what he's done over the years that would make his mind immediately jump to that conclusion. Kind of everyone's the idiot here. Your dad is taking this way too personally. But also, like, would it have been that hard to tag him in the comments? Say something like, "So happy my kids are lucky like I was." Unless there's like a reason you didn't want to do that. Maybe your dad wasn't great and he knows it, and that's why he's getting so upset. I disagree. People say things like this all the time. The only people who take offense are either narcissistic, insecure, or both. I wonder if he feels guilty about something, and maybe OP could talk to him about how to appreciate him or something. But the Facebook post wasn't about him, in the slightest. It isn't a dig at other people when you compliment someone else. I would try to clear the air and address any underlying issue. To preface, my husband 33 and I 29 have been together for 4 years. He's vegan and I'm not. He cooks for himself and I cook for myself since he doesn't eat meat products. Last night I prepared dinner and sat on the couch to eat and watch TV. I heard my phone ring upstairs and went to answer it as it was an important call. I got caught up in the conversation and didn't realize I'd spent 6 minutes on the phone. I went downstairs after the call ended and saw my husband sitting on the couch. I looked past him and saw my dinner plate was gone. I looked around asking if he touched it, and he said he dumped the food in the trash can because it looked like it was on the coffee table for a long time and there was a bad smell coming out of it, almost like the meat was rotting inside, and said that while making a disgusted face. I was floored. I yelled at him, "What the heck is wrong with you? I just prepared dinner for myself and was about to eat, but had to take a 6-minute phone call and come back." He said he didn't know the food was fresh since he was in his office working, but still, instead, there was a weird smell coming from the plate. I said it was none of his concern and he should have left it alone. Still, he defended himself, saying it wasn't his fault his eyes got tired of working and wanted to watch TV, but I decided to leave meat lying around for him to feel disgusted, knowing how he reacts to being exposed to meat products. He started making gagging sounds, and then went on about the living room as a mutual space, and I disrespected him by leaving meat around. I mentioned that he always eats his food in the living room, sometimes the bedroom even. He said, "So you're saying you're disgusted with my cooking?" I asked if he was disgusted with mine, but he explained that his problem was me leaving meat on display, with a total lack of consideration for his health. We got in a big argument. Then I went upstairs and refused to do the dishes after he reminded me, since that's part of my chores, true. He ended up doing them himself and started complaining I was punishing him for what happened by making him do the dishes with his injured hand. He had an accident. Since his injured hand threw my dinner away, I said it could do the dishes just fine, but he said I was violating the deal and not sticking to my part of the chores. Am I the idiot? Maybe he was right, because the living room is a shared space and I shouldn't have left meat there. Not the idiot. So your husband is a vegan and doesn't agree with eating meat, but surely by throwing your food away, he's now made it so the animal died for absolutely no reason, since you didn't get to eat it. Not only does he sound rude, controlling, condescending, and obnoxious, he's also furthering the problem by wasting the meat that would have at least died for a reason if you'd been able to eat it. I hate people that force their way of life on others. I'm a vegetarian, but would never stop my husband from eating meat because that's his choice. Not the idiot. He knew what he was doing. At first, it seemed like an honest mistake. However, he then said you left meat there for him to be disgusted, implying he threw it out because he didn't want to be near the meat, not because he thought the food was old. Also, having cooked it just 6 minutes ago, the food would still be warm, which you would have felt through the plate. Although he was the idiot, you need to decide if your different lifestyles are compatible. Unless your husband is allergic to meat, he's being a total drama queen and forcing his diet upon you. You are not the idiot. I'd be asking why someone so against consuming meat was so willing to throw away a perfectly good meal, forcing you to cook more, because that's counterproductive and wasteful. I think your husband needs to be more respectful of your dietary choices. I love my wife very much, but I'm starting to see her in a different light. When we started trying for children and having difficulty, we saw a specialist. There we found out that my wife's eggs are not viable and don't work. She can still physically carry a pregnancy, just not with her eggs. We were devastated, especially my wife. She took it hard and went to therapy and everything. I was open to whatever solution she wanted. She didn't want adoption and made it clear she wanted a baby related to me, so we decided on an egg donor. She wanted full control of who it is, which I didn't mind. I allowed her to spend thousands on different clinics and specialists finding the perfect egg she wanted. I just wanted to help her fulfill her dreams of becoming a mother. Finally, she decided on the donor, and we had the embryo and implanted, and it worked. She got pregnant with our daughter on the first try. She didn't want anyone to know of her fertility issues or that we had help, and I didn't care. Whatever made her comfortable. The pregnancy went great. Fast forward 3 years now. Our daughter is turning 3 at the end of the year. My wife and I had already discussed having another baby during this time. To my surprise, when I brought it up, she said she was having doubts. She said our daughter didn't come out how she pictured, visually or personality-wise. She doesn't act or look like her at all. She even started crying. I was shocked. She's a stay-at-home mom and seems to love our daughter. This came from nowhere. I asked her what was wrong, and she said that next time she wanted another egg donor. We had already planned to reuse the same one, but I took offense that she thinks our daughter isn't good enough. She got upset and said that's not what she meant. She just wants a better donor that fits her more than the first one did, in terms of looks and personality. I then got upset and said that if she wants 2 different eggs and treats the kids differently because of it, subconsciously or even consciously, then I'm not going to go along with our original agreement to never tell our daughter or future children she had fertility issues. That sent her over the edge in hysterics, and she hasn't spoken to me in days. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your wife needs mental help. Does she think she can design a child's personality and all? How toxic and narcissistic of her to want the child to look like or behave like herself. She sounds like a breeder who wanted a mini-me doll to control and play with so her life would seem less pointless. OP, you have bigger issues with your wife. Her idea of children is warped. Even biological children do not always have their parents' personalities. Her idea of how your children should look like and how they should behave is worrying. I don't know if therapy/counseling is part of the fertility process, but it seems there's a big disconnect between reality and what is going on in her mind. Regardless of the outcome of the second child, your wife needs some help. No idiots here. You are both in a difficult situation. Infertility is a hard issue to deal with. Your wife needs therapy, not another kid. So what is she going to do? Keep making babies until one comes out that looks like her? Your daughter will need to have that information, so she has an accurate medical background. You are not the idiot for being concerned about your wife treating your daughter differently if you have another child by a different donor. But what on earth made you think it was okay to lie to your child? Everyone's the idiot here. That is a terrible agreement. Your daughter deserves to know where she came from. And honestly, how do you expect to keep this from her? The first time she needs a medical history or a genetic test, your lie will be exposed. And holding the threat of telling your daughter over your wife's head is disgusting. You should decide whether to tell her based on what your daughter needs, not because you and your wife are fighting and you want to punish her. Similarly, this is not a tool to use to hurt your daughter or her relationship with her mother when she's older. I, 34 female, have a daughter, tween, and a niece, pre-tween, that lives about 5 houses down from us. My daughter has a decently sized collection of dolls, ranging from American Girl to Baby Alive. She loves all of her dolls dearly, takes very good care of them, and understands how precious her more expensive dolls are. Her favorite doll is an American Girl doll with very curly hair that needs to be taken care of gently. So whenever her cousin comes over, she puts her up on a high shelf in her room and is very clear in saying that she cannot and will not play with her dolls on the high shelf. She paid for this doll entirely by herself, so it has a lot of sentimental value as well. I don't find her behavior bad, and I'm happy she's setting a boundary. So as long as my daughter's rule is followed, I don't interfere. Yesterday, her cousin came over to play, as she usually does on the weekends. Everything was going as usual until I hear my daughter screaming bloody murder. I went upstairs to find her doll clutched in her hands with straight hair and a brush in my niece's hand. It turns out my daughter left to go use the bathroom, and my niece climbed her nightstand to get to her favorite doll and wanted to do her hair. I comforted my daughter first, telling her that it was a fixable thing and that I put her doll's hair in rollers and she'd be fine. Then I sent her off to her dad so that he could take over while I took over with my niece. I tried explaining to her why touching my daughter's doll without her permission, especially after being told multiple times not to, was rude. However, my niece insisted my daughter was a bully for not letting her play with it and wouldn't budge. So I called my sister to ensure an adult was home, packed my niece's things, and walked her home. Before we left, I explained to her that she couldn't touch things my daughter didn't want her to touch, despite her still not budging, and that she could come to play again if she apologized. At the door, I explained to my other sister, who was at their home at the time, what happened. I told her I'd call my sister later, and that was it for the time being. Today, my sister called me after I left her a voicemail and a text thread explaining everything. She told me her daughter cried, saying her aunt and cousin were both bullying her, and proceeded to call my daughter's doll a stupid toy, and that my daughter should have just let her play with it in the first place. I continued to try and tell her my side, but she also wouldn't listen. I'm not sure what to do. I've gotten lots of mixed opinions on this whole situation from friends and family. I kind of want a verdict. Not the idiot. OP, your sister deliberately wouldn't let you speak because she didn't want to hear your side. Write it out, email it to her, and ask her to mirror it back to you. Stand by that. She needs to hear and acknowledge your side in this before you can resolve this. And your sister is raising one entitled kid, so maybe send her the bill for the doll too, and she'll realize it's not just a stupid toy, though more likely she'll call you a bully. Not the idiot. You did brilliantly. Trust me when I say that your daughter will never quite forget that you had her back and that you put a huge deposit in the trust bank every kid keeps in the back of their mind. Your niece is old enough to understand what she can and can't play with, and old enough to have some consequences for taking something out that she's been told wasn't available for playing with, just looking at. I'm glad you are one of those parents who respect that their children don't have to share their property. I married my wife 5 years ago. I have a teenage daughter with my late wife. She passed away 9 years ago. My current wife has a son. My daughter loves her stepmom and treats her as a second mother to her. They do so many things together. My daughter even involves her when celebrating my late wife's anniversaries. We barely have any disagreements or fights in our household. My wife's birthday was 3 days ago. I bought her a $350 Saint Laurent bracelet. I showed it to my kids to ask for their opinions, since I'm ignorant about jewelry and only found this bracelet online. My daughter obviously liked it. She's into jewelry and accessories, and she even asked to try it on. Once she put it on, she started begging me to let her have it and get my wife another bracelet. I apologized, saying I can't afford to get another one right now. Yes, $350 is a lot in my opinion, but I promised I'd get her a better one for her birthday in December. She started begging, but I firmly stated this was for her stepmom, and then I put it in my office so my wife wouldn't see it. On my wife's birthday, I welcomed the guests, got everything ready, then went into my office to get the bracelet, but it was gone. I looked all over for it and started getting worried. My stepson told me my daughter took it and left with it and said she wouldn't come home till after the birthday, so I had no choice but to let her keep it. I got so upset. I kept calling her, but she didn't pick up. I don't know where she was. The party already started and the gift was already gone. I had no choice but to tell my wife what happened to the present I bought her, and she asked me to let my daughter have it, but I waited until she got home and confronted her. After I scolded her for putting me in this horrible situation in front of everyone, I demanded to get the bracelet back. Still, she argued that she thought I'd let her keep it since the birthday was over, but I took it back and told her she was grounded by no longer allowing her to visit her friends for some time. She threw a fit, saying it wasn't fair to punish her because I already punished her by taking the bracelet back. I told her we were done discussing this, but she got my wife in it. My wife told me to cancel the punishment since I got the bracelet back, but I said I won't. My daughter's uncle knew and started lecturing me about treating her and my wife differently, saying I should buy my daughter everything I buy for my wife. I asked if he gets his daughter the same gifts he buys for his wife, and he hung up after calling me rude. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Stealing the bracelet should not be rewarded by allowing her to keep it. Returning stolen items is not a punishment. Your daughter sounds like she's very entitled. Husbands typically gift their wives expensive jewelry and only give their daughters expensive jewelry for important milestones. She was very disrespectful and hurtful to her stepmom by taking her gift, and stepmom's response was to just let her keep it? Your uncle is also very weird. I suspect the new wife might be close in age to the daughter. Otherwise, the daughter and uncle acting like they're rivals or interchangeable is very odd. I still think OP is not the idiot, for the record. I think the poor wife is probably trying to keep the peace. The daughter was comfortable this would work, and the wider family is also on the kid's side, but she knows that she's stuck dealing with her stepdaughter at the end of the day and probably just wants the most effortless route now. It makes me wonder if the dad says they had an easy time previously, if that was true, or stepmom has to bite her tongue a lot. OP, you are not the idiot. It's not about getting the bracelet back. It's about her selfishness, deceit, and disrespect, and a series of bad choices. I can't imagine thinking, well, if he can't give it to her, then certainly he won't give it to her and I'll get to keep it. That's just bonkers, teenager or not.